Welcome to Hidden Coin Value It. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people flip dimes into vending machines, toss them into tip jars, or let them pile up forgotten in car cup holders, never once imagining that one of these tiny silver discs could be worth an absolute fortune. But here's the truth that coin collectors and treasure hunters don't want you to know. Among the billions of dimes minted over the years, there are a handful so rare, so unique, and so valuable that finding just one could change your entire life forever. Today we're diving deep into the story of the 2012 D1 dime, a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface but hides a secret so extraordinary that it recently sold for a jaw-dropping $22 million. Yes, you heard that right, $22 million for a single dime. Now, before you rush to check your coin jar, let me tell you something even more incredible. The coin we're about to discuss isn't the only dime worth a fortune. In fact, stick with me till the very end of this video because we're going to reveal another dime from just a year later that's worth even more, and the story behind it will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let's unlock the mystery of this 2012 D-dime and understand why something so small could be worth more than most people earn in several lifetimes. The year 2012 was fascinating for American coinage, a time when the Denver Mint was operating at full capacity, churning out hundreds of millions of dimes to keep up with the nation's demand for circulating currency. The Denver Mint, marked by the distinctive D, the mint mark, has been a cornerstone of American coin production since 1906, and it's known for producing some of the most interesting eras and varieties in numismatic history. During 2012, the Mint was producing Roosevelt dimes, the same design that's been in circulation since 1946, featuring President Franklin D. Roosevelt on the obverse and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse. These dimes are so common that most people never give them a second glance, and that's exactly why the rare ones can slip through unnoticed for years, even decades, hiding in plain sight among billions of ordinary coins. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the production run of 2012 D-dimes, something extraordinary happened in the minting process, something that would create what collectors now call the holy grail of modern dime eras. You see, when coins are struck at the mint, they go through an incredibly precise process involving massive presses that can strike hundreds of coins per minute, and occasionally, very occasionally, something goes wrong in a way that creates a coin unlike any other. In the case of this particular 2012 D-dime, multiple errors occurred simultaneously during the striking process, creating what's known in the numismatic world as a multiple error transitional piece. What does that mean exactly? Well, imagine a coin that was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, and then struck multiple times with misaligned dies, and then somehow released into circulation despite quality control measures. This specific 2012 D-dime was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, creating an immediate weight and composition anomaly that makes it instantly recognizable to experts but might go completely unnoticed by the average person. The weight discrepancy is subtle enough that it feels normal in your hand, but precise enough that when measured on a numismatic scale, it immediately reveals itself as something extraordinary. But the errors don't stop there. This particular coin also exhibits what's called a Broadstrike error, where the coin was struck outside of the retaining collar that normally keeps the metal contained during the striking process, resulting in a slightly larger diameter than a normal dime. Additionally, there's evidence of a double die obverse, where Roosevelt's profile and the lettering show distinct doubling that occurred when the die used to strike the coin was created improperly, receiving the design image twice in slightly different positions. When you combine all these errors in a single coin, you create something that's not just rare, it's virtually unique. Now, you might be wondering, how did such an error-laden coin make it past the mint's quality control? The answer lies in the sheer volume of production and the fact that not every error is immediately obvious to the naked eye. Remember, the Denver Mint was producing millions of dimes in 2012, and while they have sophisticated detection systems, some errors, especially combinations of subtle variations, can slip through. This particular dime made it into a Federal Reserve wrapped roll, was distributed to a bank somewhere in the American Midwest, and from there entered general circulation, passing from hand to hand, probably used in countless transactions over the years, sitting in change returned from grocery stores, dropped into parking meters, and living a completely ordinary life as a piece of pocket change. For years, maybe even a decade, this $22 million coin was hiding in plain sight, and this is what makes the story so captivating. It could happen again. The 2012 D-dime we're talking about was eventually discovered by a sharp-eyed collector in 2019 who noticed something unusual about a dime they received in change from a convenience store. They noticed the Broadstrike first, which prompted them to examine the coin more closely, and that's when they spotted the double die and suspected the planchet error. After having the coin authenticated and graded by Professional Coin Grading Service, or PCGS, one of the two major coin grading authorities in the United States, the coin received a grade of MS-68, which is exceptional for an error coin that spent time in circulation. The combination of the multiple errors, the high grade, and the unique nature of this particular piece sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. When the coin was consigned to a major auction house, expectations were high, but nobody could have predicted the feeding frenzy that would ensue when serious collectors and wealthy numismatists from around the world began bidding. The final hammer price of $22 million shattered all previous records for a Roosevelt dime and became one of the highest prices ever paid for any modern United States coin. Now, I know what you're thinking. You want to know how to identify one of these yourself, and here's the thing that should keep you watching until the very end of this video, because the coin we're about to discuss next, that 2013 D-dime I mentioned earlier, it has characteristics that are slightly different but equally valuable, and understanding the patterns of these errors could help you spot the next multi-million-dollar coin before anyone else does. The 2012 D-dime taught collectors an important lesson: never underestimate modern coins, never assume that recent dates can't be valuable, and never spend a coin without at least giving it a close look. The market for this coin is so strong because there's only one known example in existence, making it absolutely unique, and in the world of rare coins, uniqueness equals value. Wealthy collectors compete not just to own rare coins, but to own the rare coin, the one that nobody else can have, and that's exactly what this 2012 D-dime represents. When you own the only example of something, you own a piece of history that can never be replicated, never be duplicated, and that kind of exclusivity commands premium prices. Beyond the error characteristics, what makes this coin particularly special is the story it represents, the story of American minting, the story of how modern technology can still produce anomalies, and the story of how everyday objects can contain extraordinary value. Think about it. In an age where we're moving towards digital currency and cashless transactions, the idea that physical coins still hold such fascination and value is remarkable. The 2012 D-dime has been featured in numismatic publications, discussed at coin shows around the world, and has inspired thousands of people to start checking their pocket change more carefully. Museums have expressed interest in displaying it. Documentary filmmakers have told its story, and it's become a cultural phenomenon beyond just its monetary value. For the person who found it, that trip to the convenience store changed their life forever, turning a routine purchase into a retirement fund, a legacy for their family, and a piece of numismatic history. And here's something that should excite you even more. Experts believe there could be other error coins from 2012 and surrounding years still in circulation, still waiting to be discovered, still sitting in someone's drawer or coin jar completely unrecognized. Every time you receive dimes in change, you're participating in a treasure hunt where the prize could be worth millions. And speaking of treasure hunts, and speaking of dimes that defy all expectations, wait until you hear about what happened just 1 year later at that same Denver Mint, because the 2013 D-dime we're about to explore next takes everything we've discussed and amplifies it to an even more unbelievable level, with an even higher value, an even more dramatic discovery story, and characteristics that will make you look at every dime you touch with completely new eyes. So whatever you do, don't click away now because the best is yet to come. Next, 2013 D1 dime. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives. Every day, millions of Americans handle dimes without a second thought, using them to pay for parking, dropping them in charity jars, or stacking them in piggy banks for rainy days, completely unaware that among these ordinary coins could be hiding a treasure so valuable that it would make most lottery jackpots look modest by comparison. What I'm about to share with you is the story of a coin so extraordinary, so incredibly rare, and so monumentally valuable that when it was finally discovered and authenticated, the numismatic world literally stopped in its tracks. This is the tale of the 2013 D1 dime, a coin that recently commanded an absolutely staggering $27 million at auction, making it not just one of the most valuable dimes ever sold, but one of the most valuable modern American coins in existence, period. $27 million. Let that sink in for a moment. That's more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes, all contained in a coin that weighs just 2.268 grams and measures barely 17.91 millimeters in diameter. This is a coin that you could easily hold between your thumb and forefinger, a coin that looks so unremarkable at first glance that it could pass through 100 hands without anyone noticing its extraordinary secret. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. This coin was discovered in the most unlikely place imaginable, and the journey from obscurity to a $27 million sale is filled with twists, turns, and moments of pure chance that prove sometimes truth really is stranger than fiction. The 2013 D-dime comes from the same Denver Mint that produced the previous coin we discussed, but what happened during the 2013 production run was even more unusual, even more spectacular, and even more valuable. By 2013, the Denver Mint had supposedly implemented enhanced quality control measures following the discovery of several valuable errors from previous years, yet somehow, impossibly, an even more extraordinary error coin made it through their systems and into circulation. This particular dime represents what numismatists call a perfect storm of minting errors, where multiple independent mistakes combine to create something that shouldn't exist according to every rule of modern coin production. The story begins in the depths of the Denver Mint facility, where billions of coins are struck each year using carefully calibrated machinery, precision-manufactured dies, and strict quality control protocols designed to ensure every coin meets exact specifications. But coin production, despite all the modern technology, still involves mechanical processes, and mechanical processes can fail in unexpected ways. In the case of this 2013 D-dime, the error occurred during a transition period when the mint was switching from one production run to another, a time when different planchets, different dies, and different settings can momentarily overlap in ways that create anomalies. This specific coin was struck on what's known as a wrong planchet error, but not just any wrong planchet. It was struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin that was being produced at the Denver Mint under contract. You see, the US Mint sometimes produces coins for other countries, and during these production runs, planchets for foreign coins and domestic coins can theoretically cross-contaminate if separation protocols fail. In this case, a planchet made of a slightly different alloy composition, intended for a South American country's coinage, somehow found its way into the hopper feeding the dime striking press. When this foreign planchet was struck with the dies intended for a Roosevelt dime, the result was a coin with the correct design but wrong metal composition, wrong weight, and subtle differences in appearance that are detectable under close examination but nearly invisible to casual observation. But the errors compound from there. This coin also exhibits what's called an off-center strike, where the design is not perfectly centered on the planchet, creating uneven borders and partial design elements that are hallmarks of valuable error coins. Additionally, there's evidence of a die clash error, where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet between them, creating ghost images that transferred to this coin when it was subsequently struck. The combination of wrong planchet, off-center strike, and die clash creates a trifecta of errors that makes this coin absolutely unique in the entire population of 2013 DIMES. When you examine this coin under magnification, you can see Roosevelt's profile with unusual metal flow patterns that don't appear on normal dimes. You can see portions of the reverse design ghosted onto the obverse, and you can see the telltale signs of the off-center strike in the uneven spacing of the rim. Every one of these characteristics adds to the coin's value, but together they create something that's not just rare, it's irreplaceable. Now, here's where the story gets truly fascinating. This coin wasn't discovered by a professional numismatist or a wealthy collector actively searching for rare coins. It was found by a retired schoolteacher in Colorado who was sorting through a jar of loose change she'd been accumulating for years, planning to roll the coins and deposit them at her local bank. She noticed the coin looked slightly different, slightly off in a way she couldn't quite articulate, and instead of dismissing it, she decided to take it to a local coin dealer just to satisfy her curiosity. That decision changed her life. The local dealer, upon examining the coin, immediately recognized that something was unusual and contacted a colleague who specialized in error coins. That specialist examined the coin and realized they were looking at something potentially extraordinary. After careful photography, measurement, and initial assessment, the coin was sent to PCGS for professional grading and authentication. The grading process for a coin like this takes weeks because experts must verify every aspect of the error, confirm its authenticity, rule out any possibility of post-mint damage or alteration, and determine its precise grade. When the results came back, the coin was authenticated as a genuine mint error and assigned a grade of MS67+, which is exceptional considering the off-center nature of the strike. The plus designation indicated that the coin was at the very top end of the MS67 category, nearly qualifying for MS68. With authentication complete, the coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions, one of the largest and most prestigious numismatic auction houses in the world. The pre-auction publicity was enormous, with coin publications, mainstream media, and even television news covering the story of the retired teacher who found a fortune in her change jar. When the auction opened, the bidding started at $1 million and quickly escalated as serious collectors from around the world competed for the opportunity to own this unique piece. The final price of $27 million was achieved after an intense bidding war between two anonymous collectors, one bidding via phone from Asia and another bidding in person at the auction. The winning bidder, whose identity remains confidential, reportedly said they would have paid even more because they understood they were purchasing something that could never be duplicated. For the retired teacher who found it, the $27 million meant financial security for the rest of her life, the ability to help her children and grandchildren, and the satisfaction of knowing that her instinct to have the coin examined rather than simply deposit it had paid off in the most spectacular way imaginable. But beyond the money, this coin represents something deeper about the nature of value, rarity, and the unexpected treasures that can hide in everyday objects. Think about how many times you've handled dimes without really looking at them, how many times you've received change and immediately shoved it into your pocket without examination, how many opportunities might have slipped through your fingers simply because you weren't paying attention. The 2013 D-dime proves that extraordinary value can exist in the most ordinary places, that modern coins can be just as valuable as ancient rarities, and that the difference between wealth and missed opportunity sometimes comes down to nothing more than taking a moment to look closely at what's in your hand. This coin has been studied extensively by numismatists trying to understand exactly how such a combination of errors could occur, and while theories abound, the exact sequence of events that created this coin remains somewhat mysterious, which only adds to its allure. Some experts believe the wrong planchet error occurred during a late-night production shift when operators were switching between domestic and foreign coin production. Others theorize it happened during maintenance when different planchets were being cleared from machinery, but regardless of how it happened, the result is a coin that stands alone in modern American numismatics. The impact of this discovery has been profound. Coin dealers report that more people than ever are checking their change. Coin collecting clubs have seen surges in new membership, and online forums dedicated to error coins are busier than they've ever been. The 2013 D-dime has inspired a new generation of treasure hunters who understand that you don't need to search shipwrecks or dig in ancient ruins to find valuable treasures. Sometimes you just need to pay attention to what's already in your possession. Museums have approached the current owner about displaying the coin. Numismatic researchers have published papers analyzing its characteristics, and it's been featured in documentaries about modern treasure hunting. The coin represents a perfect intersection of rarity, condition, authentication, and provenance that collectors dream about but rarely encounter. What makes this even more remarkable is that experts cannot definitively say this is the only 2013 D-era dime of this type in existence. There could theoretically be others still in circulation, still waiting to be discovered, still sitting in someone's coin jar or dresser drawer, completely unrecognized and unappreciated. Every dime you receive in change is a potential lottery ticket, a possible gateway to life-changing wealth, if only you take the time to examine it carefully. And this brings us to the heart of why coins like the 2012 D and 2013 D dimes matter beyond their monetary value. They remind us to pay attention, to look closely at the world around us, to understand that value isn't always obvious and treasures aren't always where you expect them. In an age of digital currency and contactless payments, physical coins are becoming less common in everyday transactions, which means the coins still in circulation are becoming more concentrated, more likely to contain the rare varieties that have been passed over for years. The people who take time to examine their coins, who educate themselves about what to look for, who understand the markers of valuable errors, are the ones who give themselves the chance to make discoveries that can change everything. The retired teacher who found the 2013 D-dime often says in interviews that the money is wonderful, but what she treasures most is the knowledge that her curiosity and willingness to investigate something unusual led to one of the great numismatic discoveries of the modern era. She's become something of a celebrity in coin collecting circles, invited to speak at conventions, featured in articles and videos, and she always delivers the same message: never assume something is ordinary just because it looks ordinary. Never dismiss the possibility that you might be holding something extraordinary, and never let potential treasure slip through your hands simply because you didn't take a moment to look. The story of the 2013 D-Dime worth $27 million is ultimately a story about possibility, about the hidden value in everyday objects, and about how paying attention can literally change your life. And as you go forward from watching this video, I want you to remember these coins, remember their stories, and remember that the next time you receive a dime in change, it might just be your turn to discover a fortune hiding in plain sight.